Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Heat number 7 of my fountain pen tournament for late 2024. The first heat of the pens over 100 Aussie dollars. Today's contenders. We've got a Pens by Casey Mokuzai. This is in Northern York Gum Burl. We've got the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande. And we've got the Lamy 2000. Bit of a world tour, so we've got Australia represented, we've got Italy represented, and we've got Germany represented today. Let's start by taking a walk through the bodies. As usual in these videos, not going to be doing a detailed walkthrough. I do have separate videos on my channel where you can go and look at that if it's something you're interested in. Just going to really focus on similarities and differences. You can see here the first difference is size. That Pens by Casey one, a lot wider than the other two. The Pens by Casey, this is a wooden pen. The Leonardo, so that's a resin style pen. And then we've got here with the Lamy 2000 and we've got the Macrolon finish on that. So again, different materials. The Pens by Casey pen doesn't have a clip. The other two, they've got clips. Let's take the caps off these. So with the Pens by Casey, half, about one turn to come off. This reveals this gorgeous ebonite section. With the Leonardo, half, again, just about one turn. And then with the Lamy, this one pulls off. So all three pens, to be honest, very easy to get into the nib and to start writing. When we look at the lengths, we'll go into more detail later. The Pens by Casey and the Leonardo, both roughly the same length. And then that Lamy 2000 there, a little bit shorter. Nib-wise, on the Pens by Casey, that's a standard Yoho nib. The Leonardo is a Leonardo branded Yoho nib, and then on the Lamy we've got that gorgeous 14 karat gold nib made by Lamy. Take a look at the filling mechanisms. So here we've got a cartridge converter in the Pens by Casey. One thing I want to show, I know it's not easy to capture on camera, the entire pen is lined in ebonite. Very nice touch that. Screw that back on. The Leonardo piston filling pen, no ink window. And then the Lamy, again piston filling pen with a tiny ink window down here. So that's the bodies. Let's swap on over and we'll do some size comparisons. Here's our size comparisons, the Pilot Metropolitan and the Lamy Safari. So looking at these, the Lamy 2000 shorter than all of the pens, even shorter, but only by a little bit than that Pilot Metropolitan. The Safari, shorter than both the Leonardo and the Pens by Casey. Looking at the nibs, we've got the number 5 nib here on the Pilot Metropolitan. We've got the 2 Yoho nibs. We've got Lamy's nib there. That's a hooded style nib. And we've got that Lamy 2000 with the Lamy nib, although in this case it's got a Chinese copy of a Lamy nib on there. Let's pop the caps on. With the caps on, bit of a struggle to get them all onto my stand. This Pens by Casey one, the cap there really wide. But looking at them with the caps on, the Pens by Casey ever so slightly shorter there than what we're seeing there with that Leonardo. I've tried to line the point of the Leonardo up with it. The Lamy 2000, about the same length as I'm seeing there on the Safari. And I would also say maybe similar to what we see with the Pilot. Let's swap on over and fetch in the rule of measuring. Here we've got the rule of measuring. Let's start with the Pens by Casey pen. Hopefully I can stop it from rolling. So the length with the cap on, 14.7 centimetres. Unposted, let's just line this up. That comes in at 13.4 centimetres. This pen doesn't post. The width of the body, that comes in at 1.6 centimetres. The cap, 1.8 centimetres. I said the cap really wide. The section, say it's an ebonite section, and it goes from 1.1 up to 1.2. So not a lot of difference there in the section in terms of width. In the hand, I do find this is nice and comfortable to hold. Say you have to use it unposted. The Leonardo, with a cap on, 15 centimetres. Unposted, 13.6 centimetres, so a little tiny bit longer than that Pens by Casey. This does post. There we go. That comes in at quite a lengthy 17.5 centimetres. The width of the body, that's 1.6 centimetres, so very similar to the Pens by Casey one. The width of the cap is 1.7 centimetres. The section, I love this older style section. That goes from 1.1 all the way up to 1.45 centimetres. Again, nice comfortable pen to use. I like this older style section because my fingers just sit there perfectly. I hold my pens down near the bottom. Lengthwise in the hand, yep, not too bad. Finally, the Lamy 2000. So length with a cap on, that comes in at 13.8 centimetres. Unposted, here we're looking at 12.3 centimetres. Posted, that comes in at 15.3 centimetres. The width of the body at the widest part, which I'm measuring from about here, that came in at 1.21, and the cap 1.41. Definitely quite a lot narrower. The section, what I've done is taken it from about here, so that's going from 1 centimetre up to 1.1, so a lot narrower section. In the hand, it's another one. It's a pleasure to hold. It's not too thin. It feels just about right. Pen can feel a little bit on the light side, I find, but we'll look at the weights in a second. It does post, as said, posted. Fits really well. I still tend to use this unposted though. Let's swap on over and fetch in the scales of weighing. Here we've got the scales of weighing, starting with the Pens by Casey. Get to sit still, 31 grams there. Body alone, 19, and the cap, 11. The Leonardo, 31 grams, exact same weight as we're seeing there with the Pens by Casey pen. The body, 20 grams, and there we've got 10 grams on the cap. So the Leonardo, body-wise, slightly more than the Pens by Casey. And now with the Lamy. 27 grams, the lightest of the three. Body alone, 19 grams, similar to the weight of the body of the Pens by Casey one. And the cap, that's coming in at 9 grams. Let's get this out of the way and fetch in the notepad of testing. Just dropping in to interrupt your regular programming. Would you like to help support the channel? If so, please consider joining as a member. As a member, you'll get early access to my videos. I normally upload them a couple of days before they go out, and as soon as they're uploaded, they'll be released to members. There'll also be a shout out at the end of the videos, and then as we get the members coming in, we'll actually chat among ourselves and work out what other perks, what other things you'd like me to add in. You know, would you like maybe a monthly live chat just for members? All down to us. So please, if you can, consider joining the channel. A link will be in the description down below. Here we've got the notepad of testing. This is an endless recorder notebook and it's 68 GSM Tomoe River paper. Our first pen is the Pens by Casey. So we've got here Pens by Casey. And the model is Mokuzai. Just make sure I spell this right. Mokuzai 13. And in here it's got a 1.1 stub nib. The wood, I say that's Northern York gum burl. Price for this pen, when I bought it, now that was a year ago, was 400 Aussie dollars. I suggest you contact Casey if you're interested in pens like this. He'll be able to give you updated pricing. The ink is by Diamine. And it's by Humbug. Let's do our Wasty Squirrel grid. And I'm running out of room on this today. There's up and down, that 1.1 stub there, really filling in nicely. Going across, as you can see, taking a little bit longer. Down and across, so we've got a grid, and then diagonals. You can really see the stub nature coming out in this. Drying times, so here's immediate. Fairly wet if the page doesn't turn. 10 seconds. I held the page that time. 30 seconds. 1 minute. After a minute, still very wet. It is a very wet combo. I do find that this pen is quite a wet writer. So that's a Pens by Casey Mokuzai 13. Up next, we've got that Leonardo Momento Zero Grande. What I'm going to do, because it's so long, I'm going to put a Leonardo and then just MZG. Here we've got a medium nib, steel nib, similar to that Pens by Casey, that was a steel nib. Price wise, about 377 Aussie dollars. The ink by Diamine, and it's Upon a Star. Nice, like a bluey black type colour. Upon a start, upon a star. Our grid. So up and down. Big difference, isn't it, there from what we were seeing with that other one, with that Pens by Casey. Then down and across. Diagonal. So we're not seeing any line variation at all here. Drying times, immediate. Remember to get a clean finger. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. 1 minute. After a minute, another one still wet. Not as wet as we were seeing though with that Pens by Casey. So another fairly wet combo. So there's the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande. I love this tag Hawaii pattern. Just quickly show that. Should have shown it earlier, shouldn't I? Very nice. Anyway, next up, we've got the Lamy 2000. Just going to move the page up ever so slightly. So we've got here Lamy 2000. It's got a broad nib. Now, although it's broad, I do find this is quite a stubby type nib, which we'll see when we do the grid. Price-wise, we're looking at about 340 Aussie dollars. 340. That issue there, that was me. On this middle bit, I find sometimes it gets a bit awkward. The ink is by Diamine. Helps to get the nib the right way around as well. And it's Weeping Willow. Quite appealing. Does need to have the broader nibs, I find. But I do see some nice shading usually in this. We'll do our grid. Helps again if I get the nib oriented right. I don't know, Gary, you're not doing a good job today. You should be fired. So up and down. You know, it's a stub. Or ish. Across. So here's going down. There's going across. You can see the narrower cross lines. And then same here with the diagonals. Drying times. So we go immediate. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. getting the teeniest of a smudge, 1 minute. After a minute there, that one's now nice and dry. So this is the Lamy 2000. What I'm going to do now is reposition the paper. Then I'm going to write a sentence with each of the pens. Whilst I'm writing, I'll have the mic next to the paper, so hopefully you can hear the pen write. So pen number 1. Beautifully smooth. The edge of the nib doesn't catch. Some of my other stub nibs, the edge of the nib does seem to catch a little bit on the paper sometimes. This one doesn't, just writes like a dream. It's a bit like writing with butter is how it feels. You know, it's as if there's that lubrication. Pen number 2, that's the Leonardo. Another fairly smooth nib, got a lot more tactileness to it though, I do feel a lot more. Also there's a lot more audible feedback coming from that. Hopefully the mic's capturing this. Finally, we've got that Lamy 2000. Very silky smooth as I'm writing, very quiet, the quietest of the 3 pens. Unlike the others, this feels a little bit like it's gliding over the paper, a bit ice-like is maybe the way I could put it. It's enjoyable though. I love writing with this, I love writing with the Leonardo, and I love writing with the Pens by Casey pen. Let's swap over and take one final look at these pens. Before I fetch the pens in, I'm just going to point out the Diamine Upon a Star. Hopefully now you can see as it's dried. We've got this beautiful red sheen coming through. Absolutely gorgeous. Really stunning to look at. So my 3 pens for today. We've got the Pens by Casey Mokuzai 13, the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande, and the Lamy 2000. As I've said multiple times, I love writing with all 3 pens. They're all stunners to look at. Yes, you might say that the Lamy 2000 is a bit plain and it's black, but it's a gorgeous design, isn't it? We've got this beautiful spaghetti resin type material here on the Leonardo, and then this gorgeous wood here with that Mokuzai 13 by Pens by Casey. They all feel nice in the hand, they're all nice and comfortable. I wish the Leonardo had an ink window. I'm being very picky there. The Lamy 2000, yes, it's got an ink window. I sometimes struggle with it. I find it's a little bit on the thin side for me. We've got a converter there with the Pens by Casey, so don't really need an ink window there. All 3 pens, though, a pleasure to write with. So over to you. Head on over to my YouTube community page. There you'll find a poll where you can pick the winning pen for this heat. I'll announce the winners in my YouTube live on Sunday of next week, so you've got about a week to vote. Head on over there now. Only votes in the YouTube community post. In that poll, they're the only votes that will count. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I love these pens. What do you think about them? Please drop any comments down below. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.